All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the states in Nigeria. The safe return of the pupils and tutors adopted from schools in ORIIRE, Oyo State has, rightly brought relief, to families and renewed appreciation for the courage of Nigerians, security agencies. And it's a moment worth discussing and, of course, worth acknowledging today. Yet, every successful rescue raises an equally important question. If we can mobilize such coordinated efforts after an adoption, can we build systems capable of preventing one in the first place rather? And today, I move beyond celebration to examine what this episode reveals about the school safety, the intelligence and inter-agency coordination, and the broader challenge of protecting lives in an increasingly complex security environment. Again, I welcome you to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, your executive producer. My name remains Kikelomo Atanda-Owo Abati. I think it's important for us to hear what on this day in history segment has for us. And when I return, I give my 2 cents on it. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. On this day in 2015, Tuesday, July 14 to be precise, Governor of Edo State, Atanda-Owo, publicly accused the former Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, of failing to account for $1 billion allegedly withdrawn from the federal account during the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan. And the allegation ignited a national convention on public accountability, transparency, stewardship of public resources, issues that continue to resonate in Nigerians' democratic journey. And this simply just tells us that public trust is built on accountability. When those entrusted with power are willingly, not willingly to explain their actions in terms of, the confidence in institution growth, and of course, when it comes to accountability, I think it's pretty much very absent in our culture today when you look at the pattern of the people in the corridor of power. So questions remain long after the headlines have faded. And today, history is reminding us of what took place exactly in 2015, to be precise. I think it's important for me to hold my thoughts regarding that, because Atanda-Owo is always in the news, always in the headlines. But on this note, let's go on a quick break to get a word from my sponsors. When I return, I dive straight to the conversation at hand. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. So relief has replaced anxiety for the families of the pupils and tutors, adopted from the schools in ORIIRE, Oyo State. After 56 days in captivity, they are finally home following a coordinated multi-agency rescue operation. So it's a welcome outcome for everyone, one that deserves recognition. But beyond that celebration lies a more enduring question. What does the ORIIRE ordeal reveal about the state of security in Nigeria? Should our measures, or should we measure what has happened now in terms of success, be the rescue of the victims or the strength of the system that prevents such tragedies from happening at all? And this afternoon, I would examine the lessons from the ORIIRE local government, the vulnerability within our states, our school system, and of course the reforms needed to make prevention, not rescue. The true measures of national security is one of the one of the conversation on ground. So to help me unpack all these issues that I've mentioned, I'm being joined by two respected voices with extensive, experiences in security, governance, and of course in public policy. Again, let me use this medium to quickly usher in my guest, Dr. Pascal Atanda-Owo. I don't know if I pronounced that properly, but I'm sure he will come here to correct me. He's a security and public policy analyst, the financial expert, governance consultant, and of course academic, whose work, I must emphasize, focuses on security strategy, institutional reform, and of course public sector governance. And of course I also have Mr. Bassi here. I also have Mr. Bassi. He's the president of the African Council on Narcotics, security analyst, and of course criminology, widely respected at his workplace as well. I believe that my team behind the gallery is trying to connect to my guest properly. But as I was saying, Mr. Bassi is a crime prevention and intelligence-led policing officer. So before I begin the conversation with them, let's take a proper look, or a closer look, at their profiles, and when I return, I will be speaking to them directly. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Dr. Pascal, are you there? Can you hear me? And Mr. Bassi, can you hear me, sir?
I
Hello.
can hear you. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Okay, I can hear one of
Okay,
you.
right. Okay,
It's
great.
it's a pleasure having you both on Real Talk with Kike, your lunchtime talk show. So let's dive straight to the issue at hand. And this question is posed at both of you. I feel that both of you should answer this after the rescue has rightly been celebrated across the country. Beyond that relief, what does this ORIIRE ordeal prevail about the evolving nature of insecurity in Nigeria, particularly now that school communities are increasingly becoming targets? What's your take on this? For this question is for both of you.
Okay, thank you for
Sorry, I'm
the
not hearing.
question. And thank you, Kike, for having me on your program this afternoon. I think that the saga, the kidnap of the pupils from ORIIRE schools and in Oyo State has left several lessons that can be learned in terms of security, as much as the experience itself must have been very traumatic for the young peoples that were kidnapped. 56 days in captivity must have been a lot of trauma for these young children, must have been a lot of trauma for the people of ORIIRE, a lot of trauma for the school system in Oyo State government itself, and the Nigerian, the people of Nigeria generally. So, but we can all look back and say we thank God that they were eventually successfully rescued from this kidnap, based on a statement that was released by the presidency on the 10th of this month. So we say, thank God that, they were successfully rescued. But having said that, it's important to understand that kidnapping has evolved from what it used to be, isolated, opportunistic crime, to a more sophisticated career, professional, criminal activity, where the organizers may have some good connections with terrorist groups, insurgents, and all of that. So they are more centralized. They no longer act in isolation. They have become more sophisticated. They have chains of supplies. They have informants within the society. They have those who supply them with medicines, with food, with communication gadgets, with arms and ammunition. We have negotiators amongst them, and so it has become more sophisticated criminal activity. And so, whereas there are a lot of lessons that we can learn, perhaps as we unfold in this discussion, we would examine some of these specific lessons. But like I said, it must have been a horrendous experience for the people of Oyo State and those in ORIIRE in particular, the families and extended family members of these victims. Thank God they were all released. And we in opening this discussion, it's important to acknowledge the role that was played by the security forces, especially the Nigerian military, as was led by General Medife, the Department of State Services, the Nigerian Police, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the contributions made by even the local vigilantes in the collection and gathering of credible local intelligence, all of which helped in ensuring that these kidnapped victims were successfully rescued. Thankful to God for the success.
Thanks, Mr. Bassi. Dr. Pascal, can you hear me now? Okay, I understand Dr. Pascal is trying to reconnect with us. But Mr. Bassi, with all that have been shared, I think that it's important for me to actually, ask you this, because when we look at all that has transpired in that ORIIRE ordeal, Nigeria must move from these reactive security operations to intelligence-driven prevention. How do we actually, you know, curtail these challenges in a way that it does not become a culture? How can we expose, you know, the strength of our security architecture in a way that it doesn't also look as if there are a lot of weaknesses or challenges? Yeah, there are challenges in every sector, but what's the way forward? You've warned that attacks on schools do more than threatening lives. So they've threatened the future by creating fear around education itself. So I'm concerned, or how concerned should Nigerians be about the long-term psychological and national consequences of children to begin with, in terms of association with classroom, with dangers, with school itself? Some of these students could decide to say they don't want to school anymore. They want to start learning maybe tailoring and the likes and all of that. How do we deal with the issue at hand? Psychologically.
Well, I think that's a very valid question. Whilst we thank God for the successful rescue of these 44 pupils, the principal of the school and other teachers, I think the need to continue to be worried cannot be too emphasized. It's great cause for concern that this keeps happening every now and then. Which is very unfortunate. So we say, yes, the rescue was successful, but prevention failed. The question, therefore, is what do we do to ensure that this does not, or even if it happens, you know, it's at minimal level or it's minimized, you know, because, I mean, it's one kidnap of school children too many, counting from the ORIIRE kidnap. And in fact, even after the ORIIRE kidnap occurred, there were some other kidnaps in the north. And you know that these kidnap cases are, you know, spreading throughout this country, from the northeast to the northwest to north central, and today we're talking about southwest, and the possibility of extending to other regions of the country cannot be overlooked. So, I mean, it's good. It gives a lot of cause for concern. Question, therefore, is what can possibly be done in reflection of your question directly to ensure that we begin to, you know, effectively put in place preventive measures. And my take would be that first we need to be able to reassess, you know, the school safe school, you know, system project which previous governments had put in place. How effectively, you know, has this system worked? I believe that there are a lot of gaps in this system, gaps related to funding, gaps related to equipping the schools with the right security infrastructure in terms of early warning systems, training those that are in those schools, and providing safety measures, control measures, you know, around the schools, particularly schools that are close to places that can be termed as ungoverned spaces, you know, in the green belt areas. So a lot of schools do not have fences. A lot of schools do not have gates. So they become very vulnerable. They don't even have early warning, you know, systems. They do not know who to contact once, something has gone wrong. And, you know, professional criminals, in this case, even the kidnappers that we are talking about, they just don't go about perpetrating, you know, their activity without first carrying out reconnaissance, surveillance, monitoring, you know, their targeted victims over a period of time. And so if people who are in these kinds of environment are not security conscious, if they have not had basic training, they may not know even when the perpetrators, you know, carry out surveillance, reconnaissance activities around them over a period of time. So they need to recalibrate the safe school system to deal with the various gaps that have been identified, you know, to emphasize, including adequate funding, you know, to ensure that the program is maintained. First and foremost, there is need for national school security assessment. We need to look at our, you know, school systems, their locations, what infrastructures are available, and how this can be improved upon. in the light of these kidnapping cases that keep reoccurring. Two, we are able to put in place more effective preventive measures beyond, reactive measures. So, like I said, it was good in this case that rescue was successful. But even though prevention failed, going forward, what can we put in place to ensure that this does not continue to occur? And these are some of the measures that I prescribed in my presentation just a while ago.
For your submission thus far. I understand that we have Dr. Pascal now on the show. Dr. Pascal, let me come to you. Dr. Pascal, let me come to you. One issue that has emerged repeatedly is intelligence. Where exactly did the system fail before the adoption occurred? What would an effective early warning structure look like today? With all that have transpired, that has become a culture in the school environment, especially when it comes to people in the South. Now we have it in the East and West and all of that. What's your take thus far?
It is even far more heartbreaking when we talk about children, school children for that matter. Now, to answer your question, the whole idea of preventive system, how do we prevent occurrence of insecurity, not only in many institutions, or the role of government at all levels in the prevention of insecurity and this kind of incident involving school children cannot be the constitutional responsibility of the government to protect life and property. Now, it's far more heartbreaking when school children are involved, because the future of this country, particularly we're talking about children are the leaders of tomorrow, the risk is so high, and that future is being compromised, is being destroyed, where the government, the community, the educational system fail to put in place measures to prevent occurrence of this kind of incidents. Now, what do? We talk about intelligence gathering. It is the role of the government through the various security personnel or organizations to ensure that they gather intelligence on what is going on in various communities, states, and the federal government at all levels. Now, I think that aspect of security is very weak. They need to do more in terms of intelligence gathering. And then now when we focus on the schools, now, some of these schools are private schools. And so the government has little or no role other than by providing what I call quality assurance, and making sure that the right thing is seen to be done. Talking about the safe school arrangement, there is an extent to which the government can impose measures on schools, particularly the private school, where the issue of finance is involved. So what that means is that where schools cannot provide adequate security for their schools in terms of CCTV, in terms of night guide, day guide, in terms of walls and good lighting system day and night, where they cannot provide, the government can really come in by way of giving them what I call support for the sake of our children. But having said that, a more proactive measure, I believe, is what we should put in place. This is not a novel issue. It has been recurring. This is not the first time children are being kidnapped. The one that happened recently in Oyo, we are happy, we are grateful that the children and the teacher have been recovered, but we cannot continue to do the same thing over and over again using the same method and expect a different result. So I believe very strongly that the time has come. This is not the end of the story, for us to begin to talk about policies, public policies, and reform around the security architecture in Nigeria. I'm happy that the matter of state police is being discussed almost we are almost at the concluding end of that debate. That there's no doubt in my mind that the idea of state police and community policing, it means that we are bringing security arrangement closer to the people. They know where these people live. They know who they are. They know those who are criminal in their community. So I believe that where the communities are involved, the state security arrangement are strengthened. Then, of course, we more this is a more proactive, a more preventive measures put in place to ensure that school children are not the target. It's unfortunate that children are targets. Very unfortunate. It's heartbreaking because children, the trauma, and the problem they go through, the psychological breakdown they go through, not only the children, the parents especially, so a lot need to be done on the part of government to put in place a lot of measures that will help prevent a recurrence of this type of thing, which for me is a national issue. It's not just a security issue. It's not just a community school. It's not just a school issue. For me, the government has a constitutional mandate to ensure that lives and property are protected, particularly school children, because they are the future leaders of tomorrow.
All right.
So I think that's my first thing.
Many thanks, Dr. Pascal. And I'm still with you, Dr. Pascal, on this same a follow-up question, because you have advocated strongly, or you have advocated for a stronger local governance structures. From the research work from your own end, also Mr. Bassi, you've also questioned whether states have sufficient operational authority despite investing in surveillance assets. I must ask both of you, I think the question is for both of you now. Does Nigeria need a fundamental rethink of the relationship between federal security agencies, state governments, and local communities to, if prevention is to become a reality? What's your take, both of you? Let me start with Dr. Pascal first before I come to Mr. Bassi.
Yes, that is a very good question. If this country, we need a fundamental rethinking, which should be backed by the Constitution. At the moment, we have a lot of concentration of power, at the center, which is the federal government. Within the ambit of federalism, one will expect the kind of autonomy and independence on the management and administration of the 3 tiers of government. But unfortunately, that is not what it is now. Now, what is important that we do going forward constitutionally is that we must reverse that structure. How do we reverse the structure? In terms of resources allocation, in terms of resources of the various administration of the local government, the state government, and the federal government. I mean, let's take it this way. We Nigerians, we all live in local government area. Whether you are in Lagos, I'm in a local government. Wherever you are in a local government. So the people actually are more in the local government. Unfortunately, which for me is a paradox, the resources to local government is meager. It's not even enough to provide the basic services to the people. Even when there's a kind of a social contract, or what I call a compact, service compact with the people, you find out that the government or local government cannot meet this compact. They cannot provide these services. Now, when you talk about security, it's expensive. But more importantly, when you reverse the resources allocation formula, so that more money should go to the local government, a stronger governance arrangement at the local government, more qualified people should become the chairman, the councillors, and so on and so forth, so that local government administration should not become business as usual. It becomes a very strong arrangement within the federation to be able to tackle these issues of insecurity, to be able to provide the service that they need, empower the people at the very local government area, so that we are all prepared, because fighting insecurity in our local become a collective responsibility. At the moment all the stakeholders are involved, they are carried along, and there's a lot of money to put into that security section of the administration. Then, of course, we must now begin to think about sources in dealing with insecurity at community. The detail for the state government, there are the relation of responsibilities. There's no doubt about that. A situation where state governor or state government will take the money that belongs to the local government and use it for other things should not come up, should not arise. This is where the problem is. A lot of malfunctions and their function in the governance system in Nigeria. So I strongly believe that constitutionally, we must begin to think fundamentally about changing the entire resources allocation process and resourcing, ensuring that local government and state government are well equipped, in terms of manpower, in terms of governance, in terms of the autonomy and independence of the various institutions that make up these two tiers of government. And of course, the federal government will still continue to play its role in terms of territorial integrity of this country. And that's why the federal police should be more concerned about protecting insecurity when it comes to border infringement and the rest of them. And at the same time, when there are inter-state conflicts in terms of security matter, the federal police can come in. So we cannot have the time to go into the details of it, because there have been other fora where this issue of policing that should be decentralized has come up. But focusing on the issue now.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Dr. Pascal, for your submission thus far. But quickly, Mr. Bassi, in a minute, what's your take on the last question?
I didn't get that question.
Okay, let's go on.
On the last question, yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. In fact, it's a good thing that the federal government had set up the Homeland Security platform, and there's a Major General heading, that office. But quite frankly, intelligence is so key, and that cannot be too emphasized. There must be collaboration, there must be coordination, effective coordination and cooperation between all the tiers of government, federal, state, and local government. And then, because the local governments will be in the best place to understand the hinterland, the terrains, those are governed spaces. They know all the routes, they know where the forest is, is thicker than elsewhere. They know all the dynamics of those green belts. So if we have a fusion, intelligence fusion, that effectively captures the contributions in terms of collaboration, coordination, and cooperation of all, the sectors, we'll be able to have, better, national security.
Many thanks for your submission thus far. We'll go on a quick break now to get a word from my sponsors. When I return, the conversation will continue, because I believe that I'm going to be shifting the conversation now from diagnosing the problems or the challenges to identifying the reforms that can better protect schools, strengthen, intelligence, and restore public confidence, which is part of all the conversation that both of you have actually thrown a light on. But we'll go deeper after that. Let's go quickly on a quick break, and when I return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk. We kick it.
That back. I bet you can't do that again.
Being your best is a daily commitment. Many dream about it, but only a few walk towards it. Amstel Malta. Be your best.
Hey guys, my name is Kiki and I'm super excited right now because I am in my alma mater UMCC for the Maltina Nourishment Tour. Now, in case you want to get lost, but why is it not your old school? It's very easy. If you want the Nourishment Tour to come to your school, all you have to do is visit maltina.mbplc.com or visit Maltina across all social platforms. Fill the form and nominate your school over just like that. Boom, 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 zoom, zoom, zoom. The Nourishment Tour will land in your school.
All right, many thanks for staying with me. Before the break, we examined what the ORIIRE ordeal tells us about the strengths and shortcomings of Nigerians' current, security response. Now, as I said earlier, I will look deeper. What is that change? What must change if prevention is to become the nation's first line of defense? And before I go further, I think it's important for me to open the phone lines for those who would like to be part of this conversation. The number on your screen is the number you can use to join the live session right now. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook, both on Real Talk with Kike platform and on Silverbird platform. I understand that we are on YouTube live as well on Real Talk with Kike. So thank you so much. Please share your thoughts, and you can call in, to contribute on the topic at hand. Mr. Bassey, let me come to you quickly. You've argued that outdated policing laws and institutions, our institutional structures, limit effective responses to modern criminal network. What legal or structural reforms have become even impossible for Nigerians to postpone? What's your take on this?
I think that first and foremost, the security is very dynamic, and because of the dynamic nature, we cannot afford to be static. As challenges present themselves, the need to review, to assess these challenges, so as to provide effective solution becomes absolutely necessary. For example, have we sat down to consider the number of attacks that have been prevented, since this kidnapping of school children began? The percentage of school schools that meet minimum safety standards, the percentage of vulnerable schools that are connected to early warning signals. Have we looked at the average response time to security alerts in these environments? The number of kidnappings and networks that are being dismantled after a kidnap operation. What happens to the sponsors? Have we looked at the arrest and conviction rates, reduction in school closures that have been caused by insecurity, the number of children's safety that are safely still in school? Have we looked at long-term, the psychological effect? These are all the things that are important to review, to make an assessment of. So government must undertake a number of actions, conduct confidential multi-agency after action review, like in the case of ORIIRE. There must be a post-mortem, an effective post-mortem. It's important to also identify every intelligence, operational, and institutional weakness that has allowed the attack to take place, and then must also interrogate and prosecute those that have been arrested and or those that have acted in that are complicit, and investigate all local collaborators. Carry out an emergency security audit of the schools in Oyo, and then other states, neighboring states, and then map out vulnerable schools that are located close to the forest and remote corridors. Establish tested communication links between schools, communities, and security formations. Also provide long-term medical, and psychological support for those that have been rescued. All of these and many more, including publishing a time-bound implementation plan, rather than another, general declarations of what had occurred and what had been done to carry out the rescue. Whatever needs to be done proactively instead of, reactively would be more germane to, ensuring. Would be best for ensuring that our schools remain safer and more secure in the light of the prevailing security challenges in the country.
So Pascal, let me come to you.
Yes.
You've often referenced, international security models, built around intelligence, technology, and local coordination. Which practical lessons can Nigerians realistically adopt without simply copying foreign system that may not fit into our own realities in Nigeria today? What's your response to this?
Now, you see, the only thing that is constant is change itself. Nigeria is not an island. It must operate within the global wind of change. The entire environment is dynamic. Advances in information technology is not just imminent, but it is self-evident that nothing much you can do in governance today without the role of information technology, even AI. Talking about use of drones, talking about surveillance mechanisms, they are inevitable. We must use them. But more importantly, the issue of safety of schools, I believe looking forward, we cannot continue to do the same over and over again. We have learned the lesson. Basic question need to be learned. See, what lesson have we learned from what has happened before? They are difficult, but they are necessary questions to ask. And then, how do we go forward? That is the question we're asking. Now, beyond technology, I want to start by saying there are fundamental things that must happen. The schools in Nigeria are very, very many. You cannot expect deployment of police. How many police personnel do we have in Nigeria? How many? To mind the school age population of the schools in Nigeria, both public schools and private schools, particularly those who have boarding system. Even those who are day students, they can be kidnapped on their way while they are returning back from schools. Now, what is important is that both the government, the educational system, the parents, the students themselves, an international community all have responsibility to ensure that security architecture, security arrangement is effective in any particular community. Now, the use of clearing the bushes, having lighting system around the schools, making sure the schools have fences, around the mountain, making sure they have locks and there are human security personnel, manage these various schools. But you agree with me that government alone cannot do it. It is a collective responsibility in terms of resource allocation. The PTA,
Sir, I'm trying to manage time right now. I like the fact that you have said government alone cannot do it. So I must ask you this, because the children are home now, but recovery goes far beyond physical freedom. What should a comprehensive, post-rescue framework look like for survivors, for families, for tutors, for affected communities at large? In 30 seconds, what's your take on this so that I can go to Mr.
This is a very good question. You see, they need psychological follow-up. In other words, they have gone through trauma, they have gone through that. They need to be monitored, they need to be helped psychologically. They need to be counseled, they need to be encouraged. Now, the school authorities, parents, owners of schools, government officials all have a responsibility to ensure confidence brought back to these children. The school environment is supposed to be a safe environment, right? And it ought to be a safe place for learning. There should be no fear, there should be no intimidation, there should be no harassment, and they should not be learning in an environment of uncertainty and fear. It should not be a theater of fear. So what has happened to these children, particularly the survivors who have come back to school now, is that it is beginning of greater approach to deal with the issue of uncertainty in the school environment. And that is why I call for collective responsibility. Both the parents, the stakeholders in the community, the government, the police, all of them all should come together to ensure that these schools are protected and there are the safety measures put in place to ensure these children can read under a safe environment.
All right, thank you.
Very important.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Pascal. Mr. Bassi, let me come to you. This will be my final question. I wish both of you can answer in 30 seconds, but unfortunately, I'm running out of time. One final thought, Mr. Bassi, from you, or both of you, if it's possible. If this program returns in a year from now to discuss school security, what single benchmark should convince Nigerians that the country has genuinely learned from the ORIIRE ordeal, move beyond celebrating rescues to preventing them, because as we can see, it has become a culture. My second question to you both is, can you at least give us, you know, a 30-second, what is the one reform Nigeria must implement now to ensure that no child has to endure another ORIIRE ordeal? Like Dr. Pascal said, fear. That fear now have been instilled in them, whether we like it or not. Quickly, what's your take on this, if it's possible, in 30 seconds?
Well, for me, the first ring of school security is the entire community. The entire community must be security conscious. And the final ring is a capable and accountable state. We will begin to measure successes when the incidents of school kidnapping are drastically minimized or completely eliminated. And the precursor to this, what can state this effectively, successfully, will be to create security consciousness amongst members of the entire community. But in doing so, finally, I think that we must also be able to address the factors that contribute, that feed, you know, insecurity from the sociological perspective. Unemployment, poverty, injustice, proliferation of small and light peoples, porous borders, poor and reactive law enforcement operations, and illicit drug trafficking, you know, amongst others, cross-border criminality. All of this must be effectively addressed. So it's in terms of policy, it has to be holistic in addressing these.
All right. Many thanks, Mr. Bassi, and of course, Dr. Pascal, that all that you have shared thus far. No, unfortunately, this is where I have to wrap up this segment. I'm moving to the last segment of the show that we call Trending Stories. If we have time, you can still lend your voice on the issue because it's still related to the topic at hand. But I must first of all thank you both, you know, for lending your voice on the issue at hand. Of course, making us understand that this is what discussing and what bring it to fore. But by first, we are moving to the trending story now. This is where we call stories that affect us as Nigerians, as Africans. And the first trending story is still related to the controversy over rescue of Oyo State school captivities. And this is where I have an opinion as a host. Listening to both of you, while many Nigerians are rejoicing over the safe release of the tutors and students adopted in Oyo State, you know, others are raising, you know, questions about the circumstances surrounding the rescue. You know, some are asking whether ransom was paid. Others are questioning the role of government, while, you know, many are alleging, you know, complicity by political actors in the entire security industry. But first off, let me say this: Nigerians have every right to question their government. We have watched insecurity spiral for years. We have seen too many kidnappings, too many killings, too many communities displaced. It is therefore understandable that many citizens believe that powerful individuals within the political class are, you know, complicit in financing or sponsoring or enabling some of these criminal activities. I keep it real as much as I can on this platform. That's why this platform is created in the first place. But that suspicion did not emerge from nowhere. It is a product of years of failed leadership and a lack of public trust. However, we must also separate political accountability from military intelligence. The methods, the strategies, and tactical operations used to rescue victims are matters of national security. They involve intelligence gathering in terms of surveillance, you know, negotiation when necessary, operational planning, and you know, those are not just details that any responsible government should disclose to over 200 million Nigerians simply because the public demands answer. Because sometimes when I hear some of my colleagues in the industry talk about accountability, I feel that there should be a boundary to that. There's a limit to what can be made public. The same way you cannot expect Russia to reveal its military operations or expect the Pentagon, the CIA, or the FBI to release every operational detail to the public. Nigerian Security Agency also have a responsibility to protect the classified information. That is not secrecy for secrecy's sake. It's a common sense issue. Releases sensitive operational details may compromise future rescue mission, expose intelligence resources, and even endanger lives. So sometimes social media commentators and some of my colleagues, what's in the challenge, the problem at hand? Let me use the word problem now because it's not a challenge. Everyone suddenly claims to have inside information or reliable sources. In reality, such reckless disclosure often expose the fragility of our security architecture and can unintentionally and criminal elements, not every piece of information belongs in the public domain. Can we have common sense? What Nigerians should ultimately, show concerns themselves with the issue at hand, where the warnings, where victims rescue, are they alive? Are they recovering? Are they receiving medical attention? And what long-term strategies are being implemented to prevent another tragedy? Which is one of the conversations that my two guests have actually thrown a lot of light. So let's be clear. I'm not absolving the government of responsibility for the insecurity we face today. Neither am I exonerating those politicians who may be complicit through selfish political interests or the financing of violence. They must all be investigated and held accountable where evidence exists. But at the same time, we must understand that there is a boundary between transparency, operational security. Not every military decision, not every intelligence report, not every rescue strategy should be subjected to public debate. While operations are ongoing, we must learn to hold government accountable without weakening the very security institution that we expect to protect us. That's my take on that. And unfortunately, I think we've run out of time. I wish that I could actually touch on this Adeyemi scandal and the commercialization of the public office that is ongoing at the moment. That is the kind of country that we run, and we are expecting a better road. We are expecting a better school. We are expecting the security to end. Honestly, we are jokers. Unfortunately, I cannot take more trend this way. But let me use this medium to actually thank all my two guests. Thank you so much for lending your voice on the issue at hand. On this note, this is where I draw the curtains of the show. Till I come your way on Thursday, remember to catch me on Inspiration FM tomorrow, your talk show, your drive time talk show at 5 p.m. Bye now. Please stay safe and remain kind to one another. My name is Atanda-Owo Abati. Bye now.